Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another amazing episode of 52 Authors, 52 Weeks. Today, I am with Rose Madison Jenkins, not to be confused with the Rose Madison that I know, who is a medical coder from Chicago. But I'm here with author Rose Madison Jenkins, and her book is A Rose from Concrete, the Home That Love Built. Now, I do want to give a disclaimer that this book has some heavy topics
Mhm.
that we may explore today. And so please know that it's okay to not be okay, and
Absolutely.
that there are multiple resources that are available to you. One of the topics that we'll talk about, which is part of the book's journey, is about suicide, and so we want you all to know that help is definitely available. And during the live portion of this recording, we will have those numbers scrolling down at the front, scrolling down at the bottom of the page. So with that being said, welcome to the show, Rose Madison Jenkins. I have to say all the names.
All the names. Thank you, because I love my name. It has a lot of significance to me. I am Rose Madison Jenkins. As you said, I am an author. We're here to talk about my book. I'm also a transformational speaker and a storytelling and speaking coach. So I love to help other individuals own and tell their own story so that they can make a more impactful mark on the world with the people that they are trying to help and the problems that they are trying to be a part of solving in the world. When I say my name has a lot of significance to me, I was born Rose Mary Madison, and I was in the military. And in the military, your last name has a lot of significance. You know, that's who you go by. And that was a moment of empowerment in my life. I also met my husband in the military. So when I was getting married, I didn't want to give up that name that meant so much to me, but I also didn't want to hyphenate because I felt honored to take on my husband's name. So for me, the best solution was to drop my middle name that I really didn't like at all. I was not a fan of Mary. And I became Rose Madison Jenkins. And that name feels like who I was meant to be. It has a lot of significance and sentimental value to it. And it's my name. Yeah.
I love it. So first off, thank you for your service.
Thank you.
You mentioned that you met your husband in the military, and our only boy is in the Air Force. Well, actually, as of January 2025, he's in the Air Force Reserves. And he met his wife, let's just not say in the military, but in the area where the military base was located, is where he met his wife. And I've just learned so much about military professionals and marriage. It seems like there's a whole vibe going on related to that we won't even
Mhm.
get into.
Yeah.
But yeah, our son got married pretty quickly, and we were literally, I kid you not, my husband was silent once we found out that our son and daughter-in-law were getting married after like 2 months of dating. And
Yeah, that sounds typical, yeah.
yeah, well, you know what? That was not typical for us. My husband and I actually met in high school, and which we graduated high school in 91, so we met in 87, and then we didn't reconnect again until 2008.
Wow.
So, and then we didn't get married till 2011, right? So we are definitely old school. But I do know that there are marriages that the dating process was really short and they've lasted a lifetime. So,
Absolutely. Yeah, everyone's journey, right? And
yes.
for us, it was a little bit different. We know a lot of couples that had that experience where they were, like kind of that whirlwind romance. And then of course there's the military benefits that incentivize you getting married. So a lot of young people get married because of those reasons for more stability and to move out of the barracks. I'm happy for your son that he was able to find somebody that supports him in his service and is able to complement what he's doing while he's in the military. Me and my husband met in Virginia while we were at cooking school. And I was attracted to him at first sight. I don't like to say love at first sight because love is something you have to build, but I was very attracted and drawn to him at first sight, as was he me. And I didn't know that at first. And then our friends caught wind that I liked him and he liked me, and we were both being too shy to introduce each other. So then one day, one of my friends from my platoon said, "Hey, dude, it's time to get her number. I have it. Here it is. Text her, please. Stop procrastinating." And then when he texted me, I said, "Took you long enough." And we found out that we both lived in Minneapolis. And because I was National Guard and he was reserve, we'd both be going home. We wouldn't be going to separate bases or anything like that. We'd both be going home to do our part-time service. And we lived one highway exit away from each other that entire time.
Wow. Wow. And you know what's so weird? You know, the world is big,
Hmm.
but it's small. And you often wonder if it would not have been for your military service, what was the likelihood that you all would have met each other and got together and fell in love and
Absolutely.
established a life together?
And we talk about that all the time. We think it's funny. Like when I was in high school, we were both running in a lot of the same circles. We were going to the same malls and riding the same buses, and we could have even passed each other and not even realized. And it took us doing that to find each other. But we feel like our love story is a testament to the best time to find love is when you're working on yourself, right? A lot of people
Mm.
struggle with dating and trying to meet new people because that's what they're focused on. They're focused on meeting new people and dating. But when you instead focus on bettering yourself, I believe in the be who you want to find, right? So when you're focused on being the person you'd like to be with and you're focused on bettering yourself, there's less stress and more opportunity to meet somebody at your greatest moment, instead of focusing your energy on that when you could focus that energy on yourself and bettering yourself.
Wow, I love that. You know, I was recently at a, women's empowerment conference. I actually was blessed to be the MC for the event. And one of the women actually asked a question about dating, you know, as an older adult, because apparently, and I haven't been single in a long time, but apparently it's rough out there, you know,
Well,
from a
I've
date.
heard, right? So I've heard.
It's rough out there. And so she was asking the speakers, you know, different questions. And one of the things I said to her, which is really to your point, is that while you're in the you want to be in a relationship, you really need to heal from all past hurt. And that really involves doing some deep soul searching to be clear that you know who you are. Because a lot of times we get in relationships and we become somebody else, and that's not who we really want to be. But taking the time to heal, I think is so very important. And in your book, you talked about how writing this book was healing. And there must be something in the water because I kid you not, as I reflect on the authors that we've interviewed so far for 2025, I would say 95% of the books, the author is talking about their journey and how they've healed. And I personally believe in the healing process, and not
Mhm.
just like, you know, emotionally, but like physically, spiritually, historically, right? To me, there's so many areas of our lives that we need healing in. And a lot of times you can see someone and you can say, whoa, they need some healing. So I'm actually so happy that you wrote your book, and it how it healed you. And I'm going to tell you something funny. So when I first started going through the book, I was like, "Whoa, 24 chapters, right?" But then when I got when I got into the introduction, you talked about how if I set out to write a 10-chapter book, simply being a producer of that without growing or changing in the process, then I would simply be doing my healing, but you want to help others heal, right?
Absolutely.
So I'm in the middle of writing my second book. It's 12 chapters. I'm actually thinking about scrapping the last three chapters. So we'll see. As I've allowed myself to heal during the writing process. And I believe it's so therapeutic. So let's talk about um, just because we don't want the audience to know everything that's in the book because they need to get their own copy.
Absolutely.
But can you start to just discuss the why for writing the book?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I love that you speak on that. When I first sat down to write this book, I had a dream of writing a book about my life story since I was a teenager. I had experienced a lot of things, a lot of hurts, a lot of trauma. I had grown up in poverty, and I knew that there was something special about my story. And I always had this want to tell it, but it took me a long time to find the courage to do so. When I first sat down to write the book, I told myself I was on maternity leave with my second child. I had 4 months, and I told myself I'm going to sit down, write some stories down about my life, and in 3 months I'm going to put out a book. I didn't see it as a healing opportunity. I saw it as a business opportunity. I was new in the world of speaking. I wanted to get my story out. I wanted to share with people. I wanted to help others heal, but I didn't think that I was going to heal in the process. I also needed accountability. So you met my writing coach and editor, Sarah, in one of your previous episodes. Love her episode. Go watch it if you get a chance. And when I sat down with her, she really started pushing the boundaries of my stories and asking me, well, why did you feel that way? Well, what did what they say made you feel? What is this lingering hurt behind what you just said? Why are you tearing up right now as you're telling me this story? Why didn't you answer this question here? What's holding you back? She started to help me crack open and break open. And what I thought was going to take 3 months took 9 months, right? Which to me is significant as a mother of three. It takes 9 months to percolate and birth a baby. And it took 9 months for my book to fully incubate and be born, right? I like to joke that 1 year I birthed a baby, and then I turned around the next year and I birthed a book. And it took just about as much time and as much labor and as much tears as the baby took. And there's something about looking at your story on paper, right? Because when you speak it, it leaves you and it's out in the world. But when you write it, you can come back later and look at that story reflecting back at you, and it hits differently. It hits deeper, and you're able to go through each sentence and find deeper meaning in it, to find lessons in it, to find unanswered questions in it, to find answers to those questions. And as much as writing the book was healing for me, writing each and every page that was deleted from the book was just as healing. It brought up old hurts, old traumas, things from breakups, things that adults in my past had said to me, times that I thought I was a failure. And I had to really sit with those and think about them and think about what they meant for me and what they meant about my future. Um, and I got into the speaking and writing world to live my dreams for my kids so that they never felt held back and they knew that the sky was the limit. And this book only brought me closer to being a better mother and a better role model for them.
Oh my gosh, I love that. When I wrote my first book, the first four chapters, I spoke them to Zoom and I was crying the entire time through the first four chapters. And then one of the chapters I wrote um, in the car with my husband. I had my iPad open, I had Microsoft Word open, the little microphone on, and I'm speaking the words again and I'm crying some more.
Mm.
And while I was writing the book, just like you, I literally was healing one word at a time. And so now fast forward to this second book, because when I was in the midst of writing the first book, I said, oh, this is not the end. But when I started writing this second book, I had a date of when it was going to be done, which was the end of 2024. And today I have a draft. But one of the things that I'm doing is really sitting with the pages and thinking about exactly what I want the audience to feel,
Mm,
but also being vulnerable and sharing what I've gone through. And so I'm like, I'm still healing, but healing in a different way. So now I thought I was going to finish this book by December, right? But
absolutely.
September, I fell and fractured my ankle and I had surgery. And that's when I really started having some traction on the words I wanted to say, really flushing out the different concepts. And I had to say to myself, it's okay if this book doesn't come out in December. It'll come out sometime in 2025. You're not going to put a month and a day on it. When it's finished, it'll be
It's
finished.
finished, right.
And but I also realized that the book was bigger than a book.
Mm,
That there were layers of things that the book would also be available. I won't say them on here because I'm not ready to reveal that to the world. I'll share it with you later. But in those moments when I was sitting, and we're gonna get more into the book. In those moments when I was sitting in the bed in this non-weight bearing status, depression started to rear its ugly head, and it came in the form of every time I would try to get up to go hop to the bathroom during that time, I kept hearing this voice. You're going to fall. You're going to fall. And I had to reverse it and tell myself every time I was hopping to the bathroom or if I was, trying to get down the steps, I had to rehearse in my mind, you are not going to fall. You are not going to fall. And I'm grateful that I had today the skills that I didn't have 30 years ago when I unsuccessfully tried to commit suicide. Today, I have the tools to help pull myself back, but also recognize when I'm sliding down this slope. And everybody I
mm.
meet, I encourage them to just accept that it's okay not to be okay, but there is help available, and you just need to reach out for help. And sometimes it's just, I remember sending a text message to a friend during that time and said, I'm not okay. Right, and that really takes a lot of courage to be vulnerable, but I'm like, I got a lot of life to live. I got some grandsons, right, that I wanna watch grow up. So, let's talk about, the journey, into the book and, not everything, right? And things that you wanna share with our listening, viewing audience, about this journey, and I also have to make sure you tell them um, arose from concrete. Give them the significance of that because concrete is hard.
It is, right. And I love that's a great a place to start. But I before I answer that, I have a question for you. At that attempt at ending your own life you just mentioned, how old were you?
So it was 30 years ago. So I'll be 52 this year. So I was 22 then.
Mm, mm. I'm happy
And
that you go ahead.
and I just also share this one thing. What was bothering me was I was a single mother. My daughter was special needs. I felt all alone.
Mm,
And I had to realize through lots of prayer and self reflection and growth that my higher power gave my Jasmine to me because he knew I could handle her. And so once I started to have that revelation, I haven't looked back.
oof. I swear I relate to you more and more every sentence you speak. because I have a child with special needs myself. He this in this last year we found out he had some hearing loss, and there's just been so many challenges over the years. And I reached a point too where I was like, "Why me, God? Why me?" And then I started asking, "Why not me?" God gave me Leo because God knew I could handle it. God knew I was up to the challenge. It wasn't easy, right? It's a challenge, but God knew I could handle it. And through handling it and helping him with the things he struggles with, I've learned to help myself with my own disabilities and my own learning challenges. And he strengthens me every day. And to see him persevere through all the things in front of him just motivates me even more to persevere through the things that I face in my own life. But thank you for sharing that about you at 22. I'm grateful that you had your second chance at life. And for me, that's where the book stems from. When I talk about wanting to write this book since I was a teenager, um, my life started again as a teenager. I had a tough life. Like when you say concrete, it was rough. I grew up in lower income areas in Minneapolis, the hood. It was all good in the hood, but it really wasn't. There was poverty, there was addiction around me. I lost a sibling at a very young age. One of my first memories was being touched in ways that I never asked to be touched. And my next memory after that was my infant sister passing. And then my next memory after that was witnessing my parents and my step parents doing hard drugs in front of me in my living room at 5 years old. And that really set the stage for the environment I was growing up in. I grew up in an environment of adults that didn't love themselves and didn't know how to love themselves. And because they didn't know how to love themselves, they didn't know how to love me. Because they didn't know how to protect themselves, they didn't know how to protect me. And because of that, I faced abuse and assault and trauma from a very young age, multiple times from multiple people. By the time I was 15 years old, I had more abusers than I could count on my own two hands. And that really started to weigh on me. And it started to show up in school and my relationships with friends and the choices I decided to make with friends, right? The activities I decided to partake in, the drug use, the alcohol, the meaningless nights with boys, all of that. And then at 15, there was this night after a wedding that happened to be for someone who had assaulted me in my own home just months before that, but no one knew that at the time. There was an after party for the wedding at my house. And after all the adults had left or gone to bed, I found myself, 15-year-old traumatized me, in the living room with these bottles of alcohol all throughout the living room. And at first, my teenage curiosity peaked, and I thought, what does it feel like to be really, really drunk, like out of my mind drunk? And I poured that first glass, and I felt a little bit better. And then I poured another glass, and I felt a little bit better. And this was one of those Denny's Kids cups, and I was filling it like to the top. Um, and then it dawned on me, how much of this do I need to drink to never feel any of this pain again? And I mean, never feel any of this pain. So I drank and I drank until I could no longer remember the faces of my abusers. And frankly, I could no longer remember anything at all. The next thing I knew, I was waking up in my living room to EMTs above me doing painful stimuli on my chest to try to wake me up while my mother screamed, my baby, what is happening? Please help her." And then I remember the ceiling of an ambulance. And then I remember these bright fluorescent lights at the hospital as I'm still not even hungover, but still drunk. And they're blinding me. And I'm like, where am I? Why do I smell like vomit? Why did my mom just give me a shower? Why does my hair smell like puke? Like, what is going on? Um, and then later, after being cussed out by a very concerned nurse who told me that teen drinking, surprise, is very bad. Didn't know that, right? After she did all that, and my family left the room and left me for a little while, as I was staring up at those fluorescent lights with my head pounding and my throat hurting, I thought, wow, it didn't work. That thing I tried to do last night didn't work. Why? Why am I still here, God? What do you want me here for? This life has been nothing but pain and anguish and trauma, but I'm still here. And all I could hear in my mind was second chance, second chance, second chance. And I thought, all right, this is my second chance at life. And I'm choking up a little bit and I'm tearing up as I think about that moment because it was so real and it's still real, right? It may be 15, 17 years ago, but in my mind, it's yesterday. And my life really began that day. And I promised God and myself that this time I'd take it seriously. And instead of going with what I was given, I'd figure out where to get what I needed. And I started taking school seriously. I started choosing better friends. I was celibate for a while because I felt that no one needed a piece of me when I didn't have all the pieces of me. I joined the military. I finished college. I finished high school and went off to college. And my life really began at 15 in that hospital room after that attempt. And every moment since then, I've always wanted to be a mom. Like since I was 5 years old, changing my siblings' diapers, I wanted to be a mom. And the older I got, the more I knew I didn't want the childhood that I had been given. I didn't want a childhood that was a result of pain and neglect. I wanted to heal myself in a way that I could show up fully for my kids and I could break generational curses. And instead of trying to pour what little bit I had left from my glass, as my mother and my father tried to do, I wanted to fill my cup so that I could pour endlessly into my kids.
Oh my gosh. So listen, Rose, Rose Madison Jenkins. You're making me tear up because there are so many similarities between us. And so for
Mm,
those of you who are maybe new to listening to the show, one of the things that I'm really clear about in terms of my assignment with 52 authors, 52 weeks is that we get on here and be transparent,
mm,
vulnerable, authentically ourselves. And to me, that's what makes for a great episode. So let me just share
absolutely.
with you two connections. So, number one, the the concrete basement that I was living in was the same place where I took those 30 Tylenol.
Mm,
And I too had a ride in an ambulance, and my stomach had to be pumped with charcoal. But the other connection that I want to make for you is that my daughter Jasmine is deaf.
mm,
And one of the things that I'm so blessed about is having my bonus children, which allowed me to experience motherhood in a different way than I experienced with Jasmine, right? And let me tell you, Jasmine is a tough cookie. And when I look at some of the things she does, I'm like, that is me all day. And so I'm so grateful that I could love on her in spite of, the things that she has going on with her, the intellectual disabilities. But I'm also grateful that I've become strong enough to handle whatever comes my way, either individually or, with the assistance of someone else. And so just hearing your story, your journey, really, again, I'm getting those goosebumps. And let me just tell you, I'm a crier anyway. So um I think so we've been doing this show. This is year two. And so I think I only like shed some tears the first one of the episodes in year one. And I was almost there now, because even though you move on and you forgive everyone else and you allow yourself to heal and grow, it's still a memory that you have.
absolutely.
And so it never goes away, but I personally use mine as the fuel that keeps me going through life. And I say to everybody all the time, I have to keep doing what I'm doing so I can take care of Jasmine and then really position her life so that when I'm no longer here, that she is continued to be cared for because she deserves that.
Absolutely. Same. And I have the same, yeah, whether I'm here or not, I want them well taken care of. I want them to have a solid foundation, right? I call it my concrete, and I love that yours is your concrete too. And yours, you were able to rise from that and be that flower for your daughter. But I want my children to not have to come out of the concrete. I want to pour the concrete foundation for them so that they have something stable to come back to, not something to have to break out of, but to something to come back to and have stability on, no matter what they try in life, no matter what they do or what dream they pursue, knowing that they can come back to mom and they can come back to the emotional stability that I put in place for them, to understand their own emotions, to understand their connection with other people and where they come from, and knowing that their parents chose to have them out of love and purpose.
Wow. Growing up as a child, we were seen and not heard.
Oh,
And
girl, that's literally in here. I have what that was me. That was my childhood experience. My parents would often say, children are to be seen and not heard, meaning that your presence is here, but your words hold no value. You do as I say, not as I do, right?
but you and I both know that our kids deserve to have a voice because they need to be able to function in life.
Absolutely.
So I believe in kids having a voice, and my Jasmine has a voice, even though it's not her voice that you can hear. And it's so funny because she lives in a 4-bedroom home with other special needs women.
Mhm.
And so when she comes home, it is hysterical. I mean, we are like laughing because Jasmine will go into the cabinet and get, or the refrigerator, and get everything out she wants. She puts it on the counter, and then she comes and grabs us, like, all right, make this happen. Right?
I know what I want. You just put it together for me.
Yes, yes.
Love
So
the independence, which in
she
my household, that would have been, what are you doing? Right?
Well, and we have a lock on the refrigerator because she in the middle of the night will have stuff out. So listen, our time is wrapping up, but I want to a couple of things. I want you to tell us what's next for you because there's always something next. But I
Absolutely.
also want our listening viewing audience to know where to find you.
Absolutely. Yeah. I've loved everything you've said so far, and yeah, I do feel very connected and related to you. I believe in alignment, right? The universe and God put us in alignment with things we're meant to come across, and me and you have similar lives, and we were meant to cross paths at some point. And I'm glad that we're able to cross this path here and connect the dots and know each other on a deeper level without barely even knowing each other, right? Um, my life started at 15, and I grew up with that same statement you just said of children are to be seen and not heard. So for a long time, I didn't own my own voice. My abusers told me to stay silent. Um, my parents told me to just do what I was told. Teachers told me that what I had to say didn't matter. And as I grew older, I became more rebellious on that. And I started to speak up. And at first, that was in messy ways that got me into a lot of trouble. And I mean a lot, even in the military. I came back from basic with very, very defined arms because my mouth had me earning a lot of push ups to do. And I was told I had an attitude. I later discovered I was just a leader, I was just a misguided leader. Um, and so the rest of my life, the second half of my life, was owning my voice. And I eventually felt the call to speaking and writing and sharing my life with the world and my voice with the world, to encourage others to own their voice and their story so that they can make more impact with it. I'm still blown away by the doors that my voice has opened for me. I've stood on stages I've stood on stages across the world and across the country in front of thousands of people. I've had the opportunity to work for one of my biggest role models, Lisa Nichols, and I've crossed paths with so many other amazing people because I had the courage to listen to my own inner voice instead of those voices of my past that tried to tell me I wasn't good enough. And I hope through my story and my work, I encourage other people to do the same, right? I don't have to encourage everybody. I just have to encourage those people that need to hear me and need to hear themselves in somebody that they can relate to. So, what I'm working on next, currently, my main focus is my clients. As I said, I'm a storytelling and speaking coach. So, I have a program right now called Speak to Inspire, where I help business owners, authors, coaches, speakers really own their stories and their messages and have a place to practice and be messy with their story so that they can really find the gifts and the gold within all of the things that they've done and that they've gone through, so that they can align their life and personal experiences as well as their professional experiences with their goals in life and their goals to touch other people and be a part of solving some problem that means something to them. So that's what I'm doing currently. I'm also in the very early stages of writing my next book, and I'm still working on exactly how I want it to go. I'm a biracial individual, and I have a unique experience where I'm very light skinned, so I've been mistaken as white many times in my life. But that has kind of given me a peek behind the curtain. I know what white people say when they think there's no black people around, and at the same time, I know what black people say when they feel comfortable knowing that no white people are around. And I feel this calling on my life to bridge some gap between the two and to also find somewhere for biracial people to live on that bridge. Because we often, especially in America, we often feel like, where am I supposed to be? Right? You get you get people calling Barack Obama the first black president, but then questioning whether Kamala Harris is Indian or black, or what is she lying? And it's like, she's not, she's both. And can she be both at the same time? Can we be both? Can I be black? Can I be white? Can I be me? And I think we're at a pivotal moment where that really needs to happen. And the more we all love each other, the more different people start to love different people. And if you look around, there's a lot of mixed kids, right?
A
And I
lot.
hope that we can create an environment where those mixed kids don't feel like the other, but they feel included and they feel at home. I've been to South Africa, beautiful place. One of my life goals is to move there at some point. But when I had the opportunity to travel there, they are very recently removed from their apartheid. And the way that they see it there, all colored people, no matter what mix you are, or how light you are, or how dark you are. They are of one people and they embrace each other, and they know that there's strength in numbers. So they stick together and uplift each other no matter what, knowing that that helps them more than trying to have some sort of hierarchy like we have here of, oh, you're this, you're that, you belong over there. They're just together. And they even embraced me. And I remember at one point, this elder black woman came up to me and started speaking to me in one of their native languages because I looked so much like some of the mixed people there that she didn't even question it. And then when I said, I'm sorry, I don't know what you're saying, but I'm honored that you felt comfortable saying it to me. And she said, oh, I thought you were one of us. And I was like, I am. I'm just not from here. Right. And I wish I could feel that embrace in my own home country more often.
Oh yeah, our country is definitely navigating the crossroads of change.
Absolutely.
So I'm interested in this new book because my grandchildren are mixed race. And coincidentally, my husband's grandfather was white, and his grandmother was black. And one of the things we have on our list is to go to Greece because they're Greek, and he wants to, just kind of see where their family came from.
Absolutely.
But I wish more people would stop making assumptions about one race or the other. I have a friend who's white, and we talked about, her upbringing. And she was like, I didn't grow up with a lot of privileges. She said, we grew up very, very poor. And she's made a great life for herself and for her husband. But people just assume that because she's white, that she has everything. I mean, this
Yep.
lady working two jobs, two full-time
Yep.
jobs, really. So um, she's just trying to make a better life for her children. But I would like to see us just love on each other. Because at the end of the day, if you go into cardiac arrest, it doesn't matter what color you are, you're going to arrest the same way.
Absolutely.
So
Right?
we just need to love on each other and support each other because all of this divisiveness is and my husband and I were just talking about this. It's very hurtful, alarming, just a whole list of words. And I want my grandsons to grow up feeling safe.
Absolutely. Same.
So,
And that's what I want for my mixed kids, right? When I have three mixed boys, I'm grateful to have a mixed husband myself, and we have similar experiences, and we know what the terrain is like, and our boys have this foundation where their two parents can relate to their experience. When I was growing up, my dad could relate to my experience, but he wasn't around much, and my mom had no idea. She didn't know what that was like. As a white woman, she was just trying her best to help me, but she didn't know, and we know, so we know how to prepare them and how to make sure they have tough skin to speak up for themselves and to truly be authentically themselves without any preconceived notions that other people place on them. As I'm talking about writing that book, I'm still working out if I want this to be a memoir of my own life, or if I want it to be an anthropology, with some of it being about me and some of it being about other mixed people's experiences, because each one is so unique and they all have their connections, but each biracial person experiences it so differently, that it's really hard to choose which one has the most value to the reader, right?
oh, I'm going with option B, because I actually was as you were speaking, I was thinking that I would love to see different stories told from the lens of different individuals. So I think about my first cousin who married a white woman, and so of course they have a mixed child, and I think about how they kind of protect him, and maybe to some extent isolate him from the world for fear of what could happen. And it's funny you mentioned Africa, because my cousin, who has really only been on the plane one time, said the other day that he was saving up and they were going to move to Africa. And I was like, you never even visited these places. How do you know you want to move there? But um, when we went to Ghana about a year ago, and I would like to go back to visit
Mhm.
other parts because I think Ghana was very rural. And so I would like to go to like Johannesburg or
Beautiful place. Cape Town is my
yes,
suggestion. Cape Town
yes,
is something else.
yes. But right now we're trying to pay our debt off, so we will not be doing any passport travel this year.
Absolutely.
Because we need to be responsible and plan for the future. But I personally would like to see the different stories. I mean, you can even conduct interviews, right? Maybe they don't want to write, but you can tell their story for them. Because I think with your story and the story of, I'm going to say 23 others,
Yeah,
another book with 24 chapters, you could have a huge impact. So definitely um, keep me abreast of what happens with the book, because
absolutely.
I would want to share it with. I have several people to share it with, actually.
I would love that. And yeah, maybe I can find other people to be in the book as I do that, because yeah, different perspectives add so much. And like I said, the experience itself is already so unique, but an experience can be so different just from, even if a mixed person is of the same tone, just growing up in the inner city versus growing up in the suburbs can be an entirely different experience, or being in the south versus being in the north, right? The way people perceive you and the way people connect with you or talk to you, or all of that can be drastically different. So yeah, I think variety is the way to go. Yeah.
This was your confirmation. God always sends you a sign, right?
Yeah.
So you forgot to tell our listening viewing audience where they can find you.
Absolutely. Right now, I'm working on reworking my website. I needed a fresh start to reflect where I'm at 5 years into this business that I've started for myself. So the best place to find me right now is the email address coachrose@roseinspires.com, and we can connect there. You can ask to follow what I'm doing. And if you are somebody that is looking to tell your story to the world, or even go on the beautiful adventure of writing a book, we can book a call to talk about how I can help you with that, or at least direct you to the right people to help you do that.
I love it. Well, listen, I am always just overjoyed by each and every interview that I have. When I created 52 Authors, 52 Weeks in 2023, I had no idea that it was going to be an annual, a weekly podcast, for years to come. And so I'm just honored to have this opportunity to learn more about you, learn more about your journey. Sometimes reading the words has a different meaning than actually seeing the person.
Absolutely.
And so I'm honored that I had this opportunity to meet you. And this is the beginning and not the end, because we both have more work to do. And before we go, do you have any final parting words of inspiration for our listening
Absolutely.
viewing audience?
Absolutely. I always love to end interviews about my book with my favorite part of the book. This is a letter that I wrote to myself, a letter that older me wrote to younger me, saying all the things that she needed to hear. Um, and words of inspiration to also leave you with. What got me from the pain and hurt that I was living in to the new home in the world that I built for myself was having the courage to set my boundaries. There's a quote in my book that says, "I'd rather feel the discomfort of setting my boundaries than to feel the discomfort of my boundaries continuing to be crossed," right? So if there's something in your life that's causing you anguish and pain, I encourage you to find the courage to face that head on and have those tough conversations, and start loving yourself the way that you need to other people to love you, and then only allow that. And anytime something is misaligned with that, speak up. I promise you, in time, you'll be happier with yourself, and you'll be happier with the relationships with the people you have around you when your boundaries are your biggest priority.
Whew, I love it. I love it. Well, listen, everyone.
Oh, I'm
This.
sorry. I still wanted to read this. Is that
Oh,
okay?
go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. So, chapter 24, and this is a quick read. Home at last. Right now, home for me is a safe place. I can lay my head here with the people I love the most. I have a sense of livelihood and peace. I chose the apartment we live in very carefully. I wanted somewhere quiet and peaceful. I also wanted somewhere to work out and swim. I really wanted a community I could enjoy living in. Um, oh, I'm sorry. Hold on. I think I might be. Give me just a moment. I might have skipped ahead a chapter. I did. Okay, I'm sorry. Skipped it. It's not the last one. It's the second to the last. Um, if I could talk to 15-year-old Rose, right, that 15-year-old whose life just started again, dear 15-year-old Rose, keep your head up. I promise it gets better. I'm so proud of you for giving life a second chance, even when you felt like giving up every day. The lack and toxic environments you are in are only temporary. If you keep following that beautiful light in your mind, the future is going to be so abundant. I'm so proud of you for the way you care for your mother, your brother, your sister, and the rest of your family. When they need it, you put everyone in front of yourself. You stay strong for those who love you. You are capable of anything you put your mind to. You may feel yourself struggling to read and keep a straight train of thought much of the time right now, but I promise you, one day you will be an author, a writer, and an amazing speaker. You will teach courses that help others tap into their abundance, the same abundance you struggle to feel now. Although you may not feel smart now, I am proud of you for pushing through anyways and always trying your best to learn. You will outgrow your learning disability. You will go off to college, and you will one day be able to learn anything you want to learn without the restricting feeling of being held back by your own abilities. I'm proud of you for getting your first job. I'm proud of you for making up those credits. I'm proud of you for no longer accepting failure as an option. I'm proud of you for that D in math class because you know what? You passed. It's amazing after getting a zero point 0.3 GPA, zero point 0.3 GPA your freshman year, you managed to turn that all around and get focused on your schooling despite your challenges. I'm proud of you for always having a big and loving heart, even after all the times that you have been hurt. You still find a way to open yourself up to people. There will be times that may still get you in trouble, and you will get hurt in the future by people who took advantage. You will learn to make that transparency and authenticity your gift. Keep wearing your heart on your sleeve. People will seek you out because you are willing to be vulnerable in front of others, to share those things that others may need to hear. Sweet, kind hearted 15-year-old me. I know some days the world seems dark and you may want to be mean and hurtful like the kids at school who step all over you, but I'm so proud of you for not giving in to that. You refuse to let this cold world put out the flame in your tender little heart. I'm proud of you for crying alone in your room almost every night because you are in touch with your emotions and you're okay with admitting that you're hurt. You may feel soft now, but that emotional openness will grow into empathy for others that you will use to foster healing for those that need it. I'm proud of you for continuing to get your family up at 7 a.m. every Sunday to go to church because you know you need food for your soul. I am proud of you that even though you question Christianity, you still embark in powerful prayer and you stay active in the church community, always volunteering for the next community service opportunity and always putting in the extra work to earn your way on mission trips. Even at a young age, you think about how you can make a difference in the world. You exude empathy for others. I know that awareness often weighs on your shoulders because you feel like one small person who can't make any difference, but you get up anyways and you try to make what little difference you can. I promise that one day you will impact the world. I'm proud of you for holding on. I see you struggling with the feedback you get sometimes, but it's better for you to put yourself out there and be judged than to hide who you really are in fear of being criticized. I'm proud of you for always being true to yourself, even when other people think you are weird. It's amazing how you are unapologetically yourself, and you will only do more of that. I know you struggle with drinking and chronically smoking weed because you just want the pain to go away. I understand you made those choices because you didn't know how else to deal with those feelings. You will release that grip one day as you learn to heal by confronting those things that hurt you. As you learn to overcome those hurts, you will replace that need to numb with your own creativity. You will be an artist who paints or writes when they need to express yourself instead of shoving those emotions deep down. You will be so proud of yourself, just like I am. You woke up in the hospital only 5 days after your 15th birthday. You almost died that day. After seeing your mom and family so hurt when they thought they had lost you, you made that choice to go on. You made the choice to start taking your life and healing seriously. You promised yourself you would make your second chance at life count. I am so grateful that we failed at death that day. We have done an amazing job of making this life meaningful. You survived yourself, and you will survive everything else that tries to stop your greatness. I love you, 15-year-old Rose. You will find home one day, I promise. Just keep striving.
Love it. And I have to ask this question. So at the end of that chapter, who is this in the picture?
Oh, that is me and my mom. That is me at 5 years old at the playground with my mom, and I love candid photos. And thank you for showing that because I'm an artist as well. I'm a painter and a visual artist, and I had to include photos in my book, not for the reader at first, but for myself because it felt incomplete without any visual art. So there's photos from my childhood. There's photos of paintings that I've painted, and there's also writing prompts to help the reader have some of their own growth through writing. But yes, that is me and my mom at the park at 5 years old, and I love that candid photo because to me it's just pure joy. And I see my inner child smiling at her inner child in that photo.
Now, in the book, it says Little Rose and Mom in the park in 1999. I'm like,
Yeah.
wait a minute. I'm older than Rose. I feel extra old now. 1999. I was living my best life in 1999.
I was in kindergarten, still putting my finger in my nose in 99. I'm
Yeah, yeah.
31. I'm 31. I'll be 32 this year.
I love it. I love it. Well, I know that you are going to do amazing things with your life. Your, as you call it, your second chance.
Yes, yes.
It's something about that second chance that really puts things in perspective, and you just don't look back. You just go full speed
No,
ahead.
absolutely.
All right. Well, we are out of time,
Thank
and
you. And the readers and your listeners, I'll share the link for them to get an author signed copy if they would like to hold this piece of my healing in my soul in their own hands with a custom note from me.
oh, I love it. I can't wait for my copy because this Kindle version is nice. But I love to have the signature in my book and a special
Absolutely.
note, right?
Absolutely.
All right, everyone. Well, thank you for tuning in to today's episode of 52 Authors, 52 Weeks. I will see you next week.